Good morning and welcome to today's morning movement mobility session. For today's circuit, you might want something to hold on to for a little bit of balance support and just some space or a yoga mat. So we'll go ahead and get started with a first standing circuit. So find a place to spread out. And this first one is going to have two options. There's going to be an upper body component and an optional lower body component. First option is just a reach to the side to get that mobility in your oblique. The second option that I'm going to do is reaching the opposite leg behind you as you stretch overhead, and then coming back to that standing tall position, reaching long as you step behind you, and back to the top. So again, one option is just lengthening and reaching up and over. Other option, bringing that leg behind you and still thinking of getting that lift of the rib cage and coming back to center. And then we'll do the other side. First option, just that overhead reach. Second option, adding a little bit of coordination and balance to that overhead reaching position. Still think about getting that big stretch in your side and only reaching that foot back behind you as far as is comfortable. It doesn't have to be quite so far to the side, and really thinking about lengthening at the rib cage to get that side stretch. We'll do one more on this side. Wonderful. Our second one is going to be a little mobility and coordination with some heel and toe walks. We're going to go for about 6 feet or so. You can go further if you have more space. But on the way out, we're going to walk on your heels, nice and slowly. And then we're going to be on toes coming back in the other direction. So we're getting some ankle mobility and strengthening with each of these movements. The goal is to keep your body really tall, not leaning too far forward or backward. Just centering your weight from your head to your heels, or when you're on your toes, from your head down to your toes. Do that one more time, taking it at your own speed and coming back just on the toes. And rest. Wonderful. Then we'll go into the third movement, which is going to be a one leg adduction. And so we're going to have this leg bent at the knee and raise it laterally out to the side and then bring it back down. You might be tempted to counterbalance and lean towards the other side, but try to stay nice and tall, not shifting the hips or the body as you raise your leg just as far as is comfortable out to the side for that abduction lift. Raising up. Might feel some engagement in that supporting leg in those muscles. Nice control up and down versus letting momentum bring the leg down. And we'll switch sides. So again, nice and tall, a little bit of balance support. Make sure you're not collapsing into that supporting leg hip, and then bend at the knee and raise out to the side. This is where everyone's mobility is going to be different, especially at the hips. You may not be able to get more than a few inches out to the side. That's totally okay. Maybe you can raise it a little bit higher up as you get warmed up. Just stay in whatever range of motion you can control and that you don't compensate with by leaning too far to the side. Even I kind of catch myself if I notice there's a lot of weight in my hand that's on the wall, and I shift that back into my leg. One more. And rest. Very nice. So as always, we'll repeat these circuits for 2 rounds. So we'll go back to that side reach with optional foot behind. So reaching up as you bring the opposite leg back behind you, or if you want to keep it a little bit simpler or more just focused in your side, you can stay with the legs still, but adding that element, maybe giving it a try at least once, but keep a lot of that focus in reaching up and a little bit to the side. Let's go for one more. And then we'll switch sides, getting your balance on that leg if you're doing the toe tap. Just reaching diagonally behind you. You can even have your hand on your core if you want to make sure it's engaged and that you're getting the lift of that rib cage as you stretch. It's a great one to warm up multiple parts of the body and to stretch some of these muscles that just get crunched down throughout a lot of the day. And we'll do one more. And rest. Very good. Then take a moment, catch your breath, and we'll go into our heel-toe walks. Maybe taking this even a little bit slower than you did the first round to challenge yourself to really control that movement and balance. Maybe seeing if you can get your toes a little further away from the floor with the heel walks. And seeing if you can get your heels further away on the toe walks. This is one where sometimes a focal point helps to give you something if you notice you struggle just a little with balance. We'll do one more time with each of these. And last toe walk. Very nice. Alrighty, then find that position by the wall for a little bit of support and stand nice and tall. Bend at the knee with that foot behind you. And then I'll give you just a front view for a few. I'm just raising it directly out to the side, trying not to shift at the hips or go past that range of motion that feels really comfortable at the hip. You can imagine if you had something resting on top of this knee, you're pushing it away and then pulling it back in. Another good visual is like if you were moving in water, there'd be a little resistance as you go up and a little bit as you go back to the start position. We'll do one more for this side. And then take your time switching sides. Often with hip mobility, it also might feel a little different one side to the other. That's also totally okay. Just pay attention to how it feels on each side. And maybe the second round, you notice you can get just a tiny bit higher. It's okay if not, but you might notice as the muscles warm up and loosen up, you can get that extra little bit. And even engaging your core, firing these muscles of the bottom leg helps you to do so. We'll do one more. Rest. Very good. Then we'll head down to a circuit on the floor. So grab a mat or something so that you're nice and comfortable. And we're going to find our way to a hands and knees position. So if you need more support on the knees, make sure to grab that. And then I have my hands directly underneath my shoulders, knees under hips, and I have my fingers spread out. Then we're going to do a scapular movement where we pull our shoulder blades together and then spread them apart as much as we can. So it's not quite a cat-cow. We're keeping this movement focused on the shoulder blades, really pinching together, and then try to be as rounded in that upper and especially middle back as you can. As you push the ground away, try to create space around the spine as you spread the shoulder blades apart. This is one that's also a little bit of a brain exercise. So if at first you can't really figure out how to get fully rounded, just practice and give it time, and you'll be able to get a little bit more range of motion the more you develop that connection to moving the shoulder blades. And rest. Very good. Then we're coming down onto one of your sides. Again, if you need a little extra cushion for that bottom hip, feel free to grab it. And we're going to do a leg swing. So with our top leg, I don't have it raised up very far, but just high enough that I can swing it forwards and backwards. So you're working it through a range of motion in the front, passing through the middle, and extending behind you. I have this hand here to support me a little with balance. You could also have that hand on your hip, but keep this movement really nice and controlled. Although we're calling it a swing, we're still keeping active movement by engaging all the muscles and not going too quickly. We'll do one more. And rest. And then you can flip over or spin to be on your other side. With this arm, it's good to have the shoulder right over the elbow and a nice long neck position. And then again, taking this leg forwards and extending backwards. If you have a little more room than me, you could extend further behind you. I'm also trying not to move too much at the torso because we're really keeping that mobility in the hip, working just that range of motion. We'll do two more on this side. And rest. Very good. Then for our last one, we're going to come up to a seated position. And it's going to be a little bit easier to be seated because we're pulling one leg in, and I'm going to hold on to that leg with my knee. Then we're working more ankle mobility today by pointing your ankle and then flexing it as much as you can. Pointing and flexing to the point that you feel a calf stretch when you pull that toe back toward your shin. We're going to do one more of these before we switch it up and get a little crazy with an ankle circuit or circle. We're going to do 5 in one direction and then reverse it and go the other way for 5. You might notice this is also a brain exercise, figuring out what a circle looks like for that ankle. And then switch sides. So again, on this side, we'll start with point and flex. We'll do 5 of those. 3, 4, 5, and then 5 circles. Pick whatever direction. My heel is touching the ground. You don't have to lift your leg off the ground to engage the quad. If you're going with me now, other direction. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Very nice. All right, that's our second circuit that we'll repeat one more time. So finding your way to the hands and knees position. Knees under hips, hands under shoulders, fingers are spread out wide. And then what I'm thinking about is really pinching right towards the middle of my shoulder blades to bring them together and then spread them apart. Together and spread them apart. At first, when you do these, you might notice your shoulders creep up towards your ears. That's okay. If you can keep your shoulders pulled away from your ears, it's great to do so. But at first, it might be kind of hard to separate your traps from your rhomboids and the other upper back muscles we're trying to use. So just focus on the pinch and the spread, however you can get it. And then over time, you can work on keeping a long neck by pulling the shoulders away from the ears. We'll do one more. And rest. And then come back down onto your side, propped up by that elbow, engaging that core. Once you get settled here, we'll do that leg swing, forwards and backwards. I keep a little bend in my knee. Your leg could be totally straight. It could be bent even more than mine is. That's really okay because what we're working on is this mobility at the hip socket. So that's our main focus with bringing the femur up and back. You might feel a little engagement at the core like you do during a side plank, just even kind of holding this position. That's just a bonus. We'll do one more. Wonderful. And then we'll switch or roll over to get onto the other side. So give me a second to get settled over here. I keep a little bend in my bottom knee as well. And then lift that foot and swing forwards and backwards. Again, as long as your torso doesn't move too much, you're welcome to swing your leg even further backward than mine. As long as you're keeping everything controlled and not getting too wildly swinging with the leg. We'll do 2 more for this side at your own pace. And rest. Very good. All right, then bring yourself up to seated. If you needed to rest your back against the wall, that would be a good option for this as well. Or really use that leg holding onto your knee to help you find the position here. So first, thinking about ankle mobility, we're gonna point and flex for 5 times. This is 4, 5. And then now those circles kind of helps to think about your toe drawing that circle if you have trouble figuring out what that movement looks like. And then reverse it. 3, 4, 5. Very nice. Now see what that feels like on the other side. Stay nice and tall, point, and flex for 5. And now circles in each direction for 5. 3, 4, 5, and then other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then rest. Very nice. All right, then you're going to bring yourself back up into a standing position for our last circuit, which is going to start with a overhead mobility drill. This one, I'll give you a minute to get situated there. And we'll start with our arms out and palms facing each other. And then you're going to bring your arms overhead and try to reach towards the ceiling as much as you can before bringing the arms back to this straight position. So we're lifting up, reaching up, and coming back down. Now it's okay, maybe your arms only get there, and that's where your mobility is with overhead position. Just allow those shoulders to lift up at your end range of motion to reach before bringing them back down into the straight arm forward position. One more. And rest. Very good. Okay, second one is going to be a heel hover Romanian deadlift. So for these, I'm going to have my feet just hip distance apart, and then I'm going to lift my heels off of the ground and maintain that position throughout my whole Romanian deadlift hip hinge. If that's a little bit too much for you, you can just put the heels on the ground and practice hinging the hips back with a flat back and coming back up to a standing position. But if you can have those heels just barely raised off the ground, you'll notice it really makes you pay attention to where your center of balance is. Going nice and slow, just stopping when the hands are an inch or two below the knees, or even they can stop at the knees to keep it a little bit simpler. And I'm reaching my hips back behind me. My knees aren't really going forward at all as I hinge, and I'm squeezing my glutes as I get to the top. And rest. You'll get another chance to practice those in a moment. But then our last one is going to be a chest opener hold. Kind of a nice one to round off with here. I'm just going to interlock my hands behind my back and then pull down. If you want a little more stretch, you can flip your hands and pull down. That just opens the shoulders up even more. So you choose your option. And then just ever so slightly lift up. Maybe you can only lift up a tiny inch, but just raise a little. And still think about pulling your hands in this direction. Reaching, that really opens up the chest and shoulders. Hold for another 3, 2, 1, and then rest. Very nice. Okay, we'll repeat those all one more time, and then we'll be finished for today. Starting with the arms straight, overhead and reach up, and then back to the starting position. Reach up, really taking your time, figuring out where that end range is for your overhead lift. Again, nice, slow, controlled movement. And we'll go for one more. And rest before going back to those heel hover Romanian deadlifts. So feet hip distance apart, heels slightly off the floor, hinging down with straight arms, flat back, and coming back up to stand at the top. Again, you're welcome to keep the heels on the ground, or you can momentarily set them on the ground as you come to the top. Just choose that version that your balance and coordination can handle today. On this one, we're going for a little hamstring stretch as you reach your hips back. It's good to focus on to keep the knees from pushing forward, making hips reaching back. And one more. And rest. Very nice. All right, last little reward of the day is that behind the back chest opener, either just interlocking your hands like so, or flipping the palms to face behind you, and then a little bit of a lift. But really thinking about pulling those shoulders down. Try not to arch the back excessively in this position. And just breathe and hold. Think about how you're ready for some more exercise today. Maybe a walk, maybe getting ready for a workout. And release. Well, thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed this workout, I would love if you would share it with a friend or follow us over on HelloStrengthSeniors on Instagram. And you can find ways to support these videos or to share them with a friend. So let me know any questions you had or if you liked the workout, and we will see you next Tuesday for more morning mobility.